Welcome back for this second session. Kindly invite our panelists to take their seats. Thank you. I hope you're still there online.
Absolutely.
Perfect. So together with Mr. Schlecker and Elena Vagnoni, we also have now an addition, which is Ralf Stübner, science officer for the coast action and responsible for the Hydropower coast action. So this second session is focused on what we anticipated also earlier, the future needs in education and training. We've seen before all the opportunities, but also the challenges that lie ahead in the sector. And it's now time to address the elephant in the room, which is the skill shortage of the hydropower workforce, with the current generation of hydropower workforce set to retire in the next 1 or 2 decades. The sector then must attract and provide the education for the future generation. So I would start with Ralf, perhaps. First of all, thank you and welcome for being here today. So we were wondering, you attracted a lot of young people that we've seen today as well. What's the secret? Yeah.
Now it's on. Okay. That's a good question. Maybe you allow me first a little bit to explain what cost is about, because I'm not sure if everybody is familiar with cost as such. Cost is existing since 1971, and what we are doing is in principle that we support networks of researchers for a duration of 4 years to advance their subject. And during that time, they can have meetings, they can visit each other, they can organize training schools, and they have some money also for dissemination purposes. And we are a completely bottom-up scheme, which means that groups of researchers can apply to us with their idea what they want to discuss in the next 4 years, and if deemed suitable, so this is decided in an evaluation process, they get the money from us and they can then start their cost action. It's a bottom-up scheme, which means we are not prescribing any topic. And we have currently about 270 actions starting of all kind of topics, ranging from high energy physics to cosmology to food and agriculture, medicine, hydropower. I will start on Wednesday an action on urban forestry, the week after on magnetism and chirality, so all kind of different topics. These cost networks are supposed to be open. I always say they are supposed to be open for anybody who has a heartbeat and is interested in the research. There's one additional condition: they need to have an affiliation. This does not mean an employment contract, but they need to have an affiliation. And this means that we have 43 member countries, so it's bigger than the European Union. We have 43 member countries participating in our cost framework. And it's an intergovernmental framework, and means if cost engages in a cost action, then all the 43 member states have agreed, yes, we want to engage in that, and we want our researchers to participate. This means that not the original network of proposers or those who are currently in the action are the only ones benefiting from that action. Anybody from those countries can easily apply to the action to get some funding. I say immediately, the cost funding is never sufficient to support everybody, so the action has to make here, each action has to make here clear-cut decisions based on some criteria, how they provide financial support. But in principle, it's possible for every young researcher, starting off master, research master, then PhD student, and young researchers we define, and this sometimes has some criticism, but we define young researchers up to an age of 40. They can apply to a cost action for a short-time scientific mission, so a research visit where they go to another country to do some work in a different place for a limited duration. They can apply for training schools, etc., etc. In principle, everybody can apply to this. However, we have some special measures in place. Currently, we have an ITC conference grant, which means that those researchers which are from the so-called widening countries, what the Commission calls widening countries, we call this inclusiveness target countries, and who are below 40, they can, for instance, apply for a grant to go to any conference in the world in order to present their work. As of 1st of November, the probability is high. This will be approved this week, and it's now off the records, but as of 1st of November, we will enlarge this tool to any researcher from the cost countries, meaning not only the ITC ones, but also those young researchers from non-ITC, they will have the possibility, for instance, to to benefit from this tool. That's one little thing. I think what the most interesting thing is that many of the cost actions have understood that in the cost action, or the researchers in the cost actions have understood that in those cost actions, they can train the next generation of researchers. When I started 13 years ago at COST, I was in charge of all the actions in the domain information and communication technologies, and we had at the time already actions running on mobile phone communications. And I once asked the action chair, why do you come to us? You don't get much money from us. And in average, it was at the time roughly 400,000 euros. Now, over the 4 years, it's 600,000 euros compared to a research project. It's really little money. And the answer was, you are providing us a framework, first of all, where we are not fighting about money, but where we are rather on collaboration. And it's for us an opportunity to identify our next researchers. And this I have seen with these actions. You see young people coming in. When those young people are somehow engaging in those actions, they get visibility. This visibility helps them to advance their career. And nowadays I see people who I have met 13 years ago, who are now professors at universities, who are in industry, in good positions, things like this. So this is what we can provide at cost.
Thank you very much. I would like to take these two words, young people and visibility, and looking at the academia now at Elena, and we've seen that for the role that hydropower has to play, it's nowadays put also in many transversal courses. They're shifting a little bit from the classical technical field. How do you see that? Does hydropower keep to play a pivotal role in how it's taught? Can it be improved? How do you see the educational system from your point of view? Can we do more or?
Yeah. So let's say, I think today the trend of universities is to offer more general specialization. So for instance, at EPFL in Switzerland, we don't have a program specific for hydropower, but we don't have neither one in wind or solar or hydrogen. We have, for instance, mechanical engineering with minor in energy or a master in energy technology. So let's say, I think for students, it's important to still keep track of the wide landscape of energy technologies, and then they can specialize as they want by choosing the classes that let's say, on which they would like to specialize and to build their own future career. That said, because for instance, either myself, up to the end of a master, I barely had one class on hydraulic turbo machines, and it was definitely the master project that I did that did the balance of shifting to the hydropower sector. So I think for students, especially at bachelor level, but also at master, it's still good. And I think this is the trend that many universities are following, to do not then providing a very narrow specialization on a specific topic, but to have a rather broad, and then they can fine tune their competencies with experience on projects and on learning, depending on what they like and on what, let's say, they would like to specialize, maybe even after they completed their, let's say, standard 5 years of a bachelor plus master. That said, definitely I see an increasing trend in participating and in choosing energy as a master specialization or a minor. For instance, at UPFL, we have a plus 15% every year increasing. When I started teaching 3 years ago, I had 70 students, now I have 120. My class on hydraulic machines, for instance, is a mandatory class for energy science and technology. So, of course, depending on the country, I think it's important that, and the number of industries that are, let's say, in the country, it's important to keep those skills alive and to let all students that wish to specialize, for instance, in broader energy field, having, let's say, a first approach to the sector of hydropower. But again, I don't think that we are having a specialization into narrow field trend, but rather on a broad opportunities for students, and then they would choose their own.
Are we doing well on gender balance?
Well, mechanical engineering, it's a hard one. When I started and at bachelor, we were maybe at 10-15%. Maybe now we are at about 20%. Still, of course, there are improvements to be done. Probably in respect to 30 years ago, we are doing way better. But definitely there is a huge gap that must be filled there.
Yeah, that's something we for sure need to focus on.
Yeah.
So besides university, what about other initiatives, for instance, coming from, I don't know, HIA or Euroelectric? Are you involved in projects or initiatives that promote the hydropower education?
If I may, I go first. Gordon, is this fine for you? So I'd like to take first a step back before focusing on hydro. So I think the entire sector is experiencing a lack of qualified workforce. So it's not only hydropower, we see the same issue when it comes to wind, when it comes to solar, but also people dealing with market topics, so responsible for selling and buying electricity are not available in the required amount. So Euroelectric is also participating in the European social dialogue. So we represent the employees there. And together with the trade unions, EPSU and Industrial, we have launched a EU-funded project just a few weeks ago, which will have a dedicated focus on skills in the electricity sector. And in the preparation for this project, we came to the conclusion that only focusing on the university level is not sufficient. We need to start much earlier. So already in schools, the necessary courses, or at least the basis knowledge needs to be provided. And unfortunately, I cannot tell you any further details on this project because it will only kick off in a few weeks. The official event should take place then in January next year, but that's what I can tell you so far. So Euroelectric is heavily involved in this topic, however, not particular when it comes to hydro. And this is something I would like to underline. So the hydropower sector is not only facing a competition with people outside, so with other sectors, but also within the sector itself. The power sector, as I said before, wind and solar are also lacking experienced people.
Thank you, Adrian. Gordon, would you like to?
Yeah, sure. So if I could hark back to what I was saying in the first panel about the growth of the sector, this is reflected in the overall numbers of people that will be needed to work in hydropower. The IEA currently estimates that 2 million people work in the hydropower sector globally, but that this needs to double, and only in the next kind of 5 to 10 years. A lot of the growth they're seeing comes from the need to digitalize the system, and I think that's a very interesting development. Adrian is right in that there is a lot of need to recruit outside the sector, but at the moment the industry is very much focused on internal hires, people being promoted from within, rather than it being an attractive place for people to come from outside into the sector. And as our friends in the wind and solar business grow very rapidly, they look more attractive. People have not seen hydro as a long-term career option. And I think that's partly the industry's own fault for not putting out a dynamic image and brand so that people aren't attracted into it in the same way. There is some evidence that people think that the wages on offer in hydropower are actually lower than they really are. So I think we have multiple challenges to make the industry attractive to people from outside. We need new and diverse skill sets. It's not just engineers. We'll need people with skills around environmental assessment and community engagement and lots of other roles that perhaps we haven't focused on heretofore. But I think where the industry needs to get its act together with the education sector is knowing what it wants and demanding it. People in the university and higher education sectors aren't going to put on courses if they don't think people need them. So the industry needs to really kind of go, well, wait a minute, we need the people with these skills. Let's sponsor these courses. Let's make clear that we're going to employ people who have these skills and make sure it happens. At the moment, there's a bit of a lack of awareness within the industry that this is going to be a long-term challenge they really need to engage with. It's starting to happen, but I think there's still quite a long way to go.
Thank you, Gordon.
If I
Eric,
may
would you
add.
like to add?
Yeah,
this?
from Eric's side, so there are several initiatives where we are also involved. But I mean, first of all, I just can echo here what Adrian and Gordon mentioned before. I mean, this is we have exactly the same view here on this. What is really quite interesting is we see here we are involved in a new project called Skill Bill under ATIP Hydropower. We have also contributed here specifically from the hydropower sector. I'm not repeating now the things that Gordon has mentioned. It's perfectly summarized here. And here under Skill Bill, what we are doing is that it is now. A little bit more than the first year is now over, and what we are doing is that we are kind of like, after having sort of like looked into the different kind of challenges, are now kind of like designing training courses, master courses. There's even a master course for universities that will be developed in the various sections. The next thing is we are also here specifically in hydropower. We had over the last 2 years specifically supported and helped very much as the kind of like women in hydropower network, because here ironically what we see is that for the moment we have hydropower which is very much dominated by men, but we see now that with a kind of like generational change coming up in a couple of years, that younger generations are much less to sort of like going into it here into the hydropower sector. And I mean here what we see is that through these sort of like women in hydropower network, we see now that there is an interest specifically of women to look into these jobs and to go into it, and this is something that we are sort of like supporting. And another thing is we had already here some meetings with the decision makers here at EU level about it. We hope that here under NZIA, the Net Zero Industry Act, that there will be now also specifically under these net zero industry academies, then also possibilities specifically for the hydropower sector. And also here with Ursula von der Leyen having mentioned it here just recently about the planned industry strategy, we also hope that there is some room for this. And I mean, here really highlighting, if you're going to look at the European hydropower sector, equipment and project development and turbines, it is regarded as sort of like world leader. And we have there a very good advantage at European level for this to basically keep the industry in Europe, not as like, for example, with PV, that is sort of like then, which we have lost here in this case, and with wind, where we still need to struggle to basically keep it in Europe and also to maintain a very strong industry. But I mean, here what we have is this we have really this absolutely strong and highly regarded industry here in Europe with excellent research centers, universities, with lots of companies, small, large, all that are there. And I mean, this is why it would be really necessary to have specifically under the new ENSEA initiatives to have here hydropower anchored in.
Thank you very much, Dirk. Now looking at the Commission. So last year was the year of European skills, and a lot of focus was put on forming professionals for the digital, but also the clean transitions, trying to foster growth and innovation, and especially competitiveness. You mentioned it yourself earlier, but here in Brussels, we're hearing this word competitiveness quite a lot, also following the Draghi report. And hearing also what was just mentioned by Dirk, it seems that we do have the industry here, that we could be somehow competitive when it comes to hydropower, which is different from other technologies like PV, that with the whole history of PV having used in the past, for China being involved in that as well. But back to hydropower, so it seems like we could be competitive. Are there any specific policies, measures, or funding schemes that could promote, but also increase education in hydropower, but in general, in the clean energy sector?
Thank you, and I'm happy to pick up where the previous speakers actually summarized the situation. You mentioned the European Year of Skills. Indeed, last year, this was really to put a focus on the EU skills strategy and with the important focus on clean energies as digital transformation. We heard both of them are important. And of course, within the clean energy, there are some sectors, as it was discussed, have maybe more visibility than others. So this is basically the starting point here. Indeed, hydropower is if we look at the ENSEA technologies, is in a, one would say, comfortable situation now in respect. We do not need kind of to build up capacity, which we do not have here. We are in the situation that it's, for the moment, very competitive internationally. It's an area where we export technology, but I made reference to our own study on energy security, where skills was already coming up as an issue. So I'm actually here to learn more about where are the specific issues. Maybe also what is specific for hydropower in respect of other clean energy technologies. I think it's very well understood that this is, of course, not finished with the European Years of Skills. I mean, we need to continue on that. It came out in the Letter report and also in the Draghi report. I mean, the EU must build on a highly skilled, well-educated workforce, and future is labeled there. So this is central element to achieve our competitiveness, and it's also tackling skills and labor supply is an important pillar in von der Leyen's guidelines for the next Commission. So this, of course, will then be translated in a set of measures, I expect, in policy actions in future. I mean, what we have now, we have, of course, as Ralph introduced, the cost action, which is very much on exchange of researchers. I mean, what we do in Pillar 2 doesn't have this focus specific on skills currently, but I would add it up to that in a lower extent. It is less people focused, but of course also our collaborative projects help to form people and create experts in future. So in this respect, I think we have many actions put together. Also the ETIP Hydropower, I would mention again here as an important exchange platform. So I don't know what will come, but it's probably rather, I mean, for me as policy officer in this field, is really important to understand where we have specific issues relevant to hydropower in respect of other clean energy technologies, because clean energy technologies is already a priority, and we know about that this has to be addressed in the context of skills, also digitalization. So I think we need also to look a little bit on a value chain approach, where you are lacking skills. Is it really only the core business? I mean, engineering was mentioned, but also digitalization was already mentioned. I think we have also other fields. It's reaching also up to experts in ecology, etc. You have a lot of horizontal profiles. So I think it's important to find it out, and indeed also request basically to the sector to communicate this well to us, where it's really getting a strategic issue and where it might be specifically relevant for hydropower, because of course we wish to in Europe to maintain this position we have now, and as I said, also with this objective to be a leader in sustainable hydropower, and this is only possible to export this ideal when we have and maintain the skill basis here.
Thank you. So what I take from this is that we need to go beyond the traditional approach and maybe try also to foster cross-collaboration, perhaps between universities, association institutions, but also companies as well, and how they can contribute to create incentives to foster that innovation and form a new skill force. But also, maybe I was thinking it's important to link to the previous session as well, that the social acceptance is there as well. Now we've seen that the new work program will have perhaps societal readiness level, so beyond the classical technology readiness level. That is also something that maybe we need to consider, that citizens and in general, not only professional, are also in this, because it's important that everyone do its part. Is there? Do we have questions from the audience?
Not at the moment.
Does any one of you would like to expand on this, on how you are promoting as part of your organization this? Would you like to add any more information concerning how you would perhaps envision, if not existent now, but envision some sort of collaboration to try to involve everyone in the sector? Thank you.
Maybe I can add a couple of words as in name of the ERA, so the European Energy Research Alliance in hydropower. So what we would like to launch is a collaboration, cross-collaboration between universities in order to join forces on the class we teach. So the idea would be to have, let's say, a uniform way to teach the hydropower domain topics, so from civil, electrical, and environmental and mechanical engineering. So join forces is, for instance, having a common book and having a common structure of the classes, so that, let's say, every person, every professor can bring his own specialization, and that can be spread across Europe. So the idea, together also with Ole Gunnar Dalau, so the coordinator of the GPA Hydropower, is to launch this in this coming year in a way that so we start, let's say, joining forces between the teachers across universities in Europe to build a framework where we teach in a uniform way hydropower classes, whatever the background is, in the same way in Europe.
Thank you, Elena. Any questions from the audience? Don't be shy. Yes. Maybe I'll bring you a copy. Wait.
Marco Chair, University of Ljubljana. What should we do when we teach youngsters? How should we approach them? What to tell them during lectures or I mean, in small breaks that we have to attract them? Maybe a discussion for everyone. But it's I see that not many after listening to courses go into the energy engineering sector, much less in hydropower. There are other, at least in Slovenia, other disciplines that with higher salaries, better prospects for the future attract the best students.
I guess one important point is to give them their right tool to find job opportunities. So, well, of course, lectures, the end of the lectures is to give them the knowledge. So the tools to then exploit what we are teaching. So not only, let's say, bunch of equations, but then also a way to use them, give them possibility of perform projects, and also raise awareness about the existing internships opportunities, possibility for bachelor or master projects, depending on the level, and show them that there is a space in the industries or in the research domain, if you would like to say in academia, to work. I think one of the main points is also that hydropower, I don't have the numbers, but I guess in terms of share of job opportunities in respect to the rest of the field, I guess is not particularly high. So I guess one important thing would be to give them the tools to find those job opportunities and to know that they exist. At the top of course, providing them the knowledge they need through the classes.
Okay. Just probably one comment from our side or from my side. I mean, it's true what you said. The problem what we have, for example, in Vienna is that it's not mandatory, the classes anymore. So you have a lesson which is mandatory, where every student will come in your class and you can convince them. Yeah? In our case, it's not mandatory anymore. So students can select, and they are smart now. They are selecting those areas where they have a job later on. So this goes hand in hand. Education goes hand in hand. If they don't see any job opportunity, they will not study. So even if we are smart and we are good and we offer a lot of classes, they will not join because we simply don't reach them. In our case.
That reminds me.
I totally. Sorry.
Someone is talking. Can I go ahead?
I think it was someone online.
Yes, it was me online,
Adrian?
but please go ahead in the room if you want to.
Okay, mine is another question. Maybe you want to contribute to this discussion, then I might allow you to finish before I ask my question.
Yeah, I only wanted to share that I totally agree with what was said so far. And what I see is, or in my opinion, we have a problem on a different level, because so far, I think it was not clear to people beyond the hydropower that this sector is future relevant and will or is future orientated. So we need to find ways to attract people outside. I think Gordon mentioned it before. So I think in the bubble, we said it earlier in the first panel, there is a role for hydropower, but people usually don't know it. And I think we need to align our messaging. We need to align our communication and really increase efforts in communicating about these future roles. So again, I'm referring now to pump storage. We will have to double the pump storage capacity in Europe. And if we want to double the pump storage capacity, we will need all skills. And this means that there will be a lot of jobs available. But if we don't communicate that pump storage will double, and if we don't communicate that hydro will be a significant pillar in a decarbonized power system or EU power system, people will not be attracted and will not choose the course. So from my perspective, at the end, it does not change if this course is mandatory or not. It will depend, as I think, Edward, as you said, if there is a job or if there is no job, if there is a future in the sector or if there is no future. And yes, I stop here, sorry.
Okay, thank you. So following up from your intervention, I would want to ask, as we are looking towards collaborations with other people working on hydropower institutions like Elena mentioned. So is this also possible for us to consider the other disciplines that are also interested in hydropower, like those in law, legal policies, humanities, social sciences, and anthropology, especially when we are looking at the sustainability acceptance of hydropower projects? Shouldn't we also think of collaborating with peoples that are, or disciplines or skills that are outside engineering, and look for those in also promote for people in social sciences, policy, and all this kind of discipline that will be relevant for hydropower development? Thanks.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I think this is what I wanted to say before when I referred to a value chain approach. I mean, really all the activities which are required to make hydropower successful should be on board also in respect of skills, and you in particular the industry, but I think also from the research side, because you foresee this earlier, you need to basically channel that we can cover all the skills, of course, together with the on the European side to have the respective actions in place. I mean, Martina, in preparation of this session, there was a question on if virtual courses can make sense. I mean, I'm not daring to propose something to university professors like how the teaching should go. But I mean, maybe this would be a relevant question, in particular, if you think about reskilling and upskilling of people when you acutely, since you are now in the competition with sectors which might be more visible. I mean, if this is the big question, which is probably difficult to solve, then probably one idea would be to have then the educational packages in place also for people which are in an advanced career, which maybe cannot anymore, which have the respective, let's say, degrees required, but which cannot anymore, let's say, make in place training, what, at least to consider what you can do in respect of reskilling in the middle future to fill whatever gaps then.
I think this is very clear for research side. Definitely all projects that we have ongoing are multidisciplinary, so require cross collaboration in a multitude of different fields. Is less evident in education, but I believe this is coming. Already, for instance, in my university, whatever the topic you teach, you are strongly recommended to add sustainability aspects. So whatever topic, even if you're maybe, of course, maybe basic mathematics not, but whatever topic you are teaching related to an application, we are strongly encouraged to include sustainability aspects of that specific topic, even if it's not the core of a lecture. And I believe this will come also for social acceptance in the same way, because those are strictly linked together at the end.
Starting from schools, maybe even, as Adrian suggested earlier. Yes, where's the
micro?
The mic with me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Pavel Rudolf from Brno University of Technology in the Czech Republic. First of all, I agree with the speakers that it is very much connected, universities and the future jobs, employers, but also the, let's say, salaries, future salaries. I think we heard very nicely from the guys in the morning that they did it for the price, this competition. So I think this is also the view of the young generation. But what I would like to say is that we should make the field really more attractive. I think for a lot of them, this is something really very old, and we should not forget that it is also very much connected, for example, to the computational simulations, to the AI, that all those fields are also nowadays coupled with the hydropower. So this should always be advertised together, that this is not anything old, but this is really developing and incorporating this new stuff together. And the other comment is maybe, let's say, recent lesson, at least in the Czech Republic after COVID, we saw that there was really very big increase among girls to be a nurse. And I think that, sorry to say, we need a blackout so that people will realize that all our society is running on energy. And after this, I think this could be a really huge change in perception of all energy industries, including hydropower.
Ralph, would you like to react to that?
So thank you very much. With the last point of my predecessor here, I won't agree because I don't want to experience a blackout. So this is too dangerous for me. But you very much touched a point which I had also in mind, and maybe a little bit from an anecdotal side. My son is studying electrical engineering. When I tell him, hydropower, would this be interesting? No, not really. And what I see on the other hand is, well, first of all, when it comes to the decision, where do I specialize? Then you have to made up your mind already, okay, where can I go? And you need to know that hydropower is an option. And I'm not sure that this is the case. So you have to address pupils in school at the end of secondary school, or the students bachelor, who has bachelor. And when I now look at my cost actions, I have also quite some few cost actions on high energy physics. The high energy physics community, which are dealing with Higgs boson and whatever, things which you hardly understand, or at least me, despite that I am a physicist, they always make it, or they are very good in communicating what they are doing. They are explaining why they are doing this job. They are in the newspaper explaining what the science is about, etc., etc. And I think this is something which the community here may has to learn also, to tell to the broader public, okay, what is the fun part of being engaged in hydropower? What is driving you? What is driving you to engage in this topic? When I see the LinkedIn posts of Eduard, I sometimes say, I'm here at my desk in Brussels, and he is somewhere in the beautiful nature. So I think this is something where you have to think also from that side, okay, how can we attract the really young ones, so coming from school, entering the bachelor, okay, this could be an option which in the long term could be attractive for me also, because I don't want to sit all the time at the desk designing behind the computer some layouts for chips or whatever, because you are competing with a lot of other fields in electrical engineering and also civil engineering, where yeah, you have to say that you are there.
If I may add just one sentence, and first, full support to what was said so far. I think it's also important, and I consider myself still as a young professional. We want to have an impact. We want to have a sector where we're allowed to have an impact. And unfortunately, I think the hydropower sector was perceived over the past 2 decades as a rigid sector, as an old sector. And this is now, I think, changing. And besides the universities, the companies itself have a huge responsibility in this regard. They haven't been communicating a lot about new projects because the project took a while to get permitted, and they have been facing issues along this path. But now, as there are the support, or the support is increasing within the companies by the board of the companies are being more vocal now, and I think this will then also attract, in a consequence, people in contributing to making these visions a reality.
I pick up on a point that was made earlier about people transferring in from other sectors. This is something that I've thought about a lot over the years. There are a lot of people going to be coming out of particularly the fossil fuel industries who have some transferable skills. And that's going to be an interesting source of people who could be retrained. The one issue we really have there is, frankly, they get paid a lot more to drill for oil and gas than we're able to pay in the electricity sector more broadly. So we need to make sure that the wider benefits, you know, you're doing something good for the planet. It's got a great image that needs to be worked on, as well as can we be competitive, or at least try and be somewhat competitive on the salaries. So I think it's going to be an interesting source of people going forward, but we need to be really clear what the challenges are.
First, a comment from Elena, and then your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I think it's very crucial to give to students possibility to learn and having projects on the topics and on the field of hydropower, more than having very much specialized courses on that. Because just a question, how many of you knew that you would have been working in hydropower at bachelor level? Me, not at all. 1, 2, 3, 5, maybe 5 in the room. So I honestly think being so much sure about in which field you would like to work at bachelor level or even before when you're younger, it's very difficult. Maybe for, I don't know, becoming a doctor, it's more like somebody says a vocation. It's not that much easy, I think, when you, especially in those engineering topics, being that much sure exactly what you're gonna be, the industry you are working on. So probably giving to students the possibility to choose hydropower is because you give them opportunities to work on it. So you give them opportunities to find internships, projects, and you have a good communication with them, so you know how to reach them. This, I think, would be an effective way to give them the opportunity to be in the field, because actually they realize that there are opportunities. At the top of course, raise awareness about what is a job in hydropower about, on field, on research, or let's say on a development side in equipment manufacturing, for instance. So I think that will be really a key to attract people in the field, rather than showing, let's say, at a very early stage and convince them at a very early stage, because it's going to be difficult then for them to keep track, because they will be overwhelmed with actually a lot of other information during their courses of studies.
Sebastian Muntean from Romania Academy Timișoara branch. Tomorrow, as already Pavel mentioned, youngers are very pragmatic and well-oriented on the market. Yes, we can give them some opportunities, but they are knowing very well the market. You know, the companies looking to the automotive and aerospace, they are very dynamic. We are more close to the tradition, and for that reason, first discussion with them is what's happened after the graduate and what is the opportunities on the market. For that reason, in my opinion, the most important part is to have the chance in order to be involved in the programs, in order to be companies, in order to be very clear what is the opportunities in the future. And the hydropower, unfortunately, don't have this chance in order to be enough dynamic like other domains. And for that reason, we have to think very clear and deep what's happening in the future. Edward already mentioned, I am in charge with the training schools. We already organized 3 training schools up to now. We have seen a lot of files from the youngers. And in some countries, they have big problems. What means, because we are talking about the bachelor, master, and PhD. And the pyramid is not enough strong. To the last level is not anymore any student. And we have these kind of signals in the educational systems, and we have to be very careful. We have to learn for the lessons already in the Europe. if we are looking what was in the late 2 decades ago, what was in Sweden, when was the first generation who built the hydropower plants, and after that was a gap, and they fight to bring the specialized human resources. Maybe it's better to understand and to try to somehow to prepare what's happening in the Europe in order to support, do not repeat these stories. And in the policy, in my opinion, have to be these parts, have to be included. Otherwise, will be very difficult to manage. To go in the optimistic part, yes, the younger will join us, but they join because they are looking to the future and their opportunity to develop the career. Not because we give them opportunities, no, because they would like to have something to be proud in order to feel they contribute to the society. And that is the most important part, to the level of policies, to the level of universities, to the level of companies, ONGs, in order to stay together and to give them the chance in order to be in this community with us, to transfer the knowledge, because it's very important. It's not so easy. Indeed, we have seen in the energy field of grow in the photovoltaic, in the wind. The hydropower is tradition. The companies, they keep the tradition because they protect, and they have some very important, was a discussion about to work together in the community. In the hydropower, we don't have this experience because the companies, they said, everyone from large companies, they have their own policy in order to have the market. And looking to the material science or to the physical field, they work together because generally the equipment from different labs are different, and they have to do the experiments in order to characterize the materials together. We don't have this experience. For that reason, we have the particular specific to the domain, and to look to the domain and try to learn and to extend this experience in order for the future. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay. Hi, my name is Zoran Markov. I'm a professor of hydropower at St. Cyril and Methodius University in Skopje, Macedonia. So to come to the background, our country is about 25% hydropower. Electricity production is 25% comes from hydropower. When I was enrolled in the university, it was exactly 30 years ago. The mechanical faculty at the university enrolled 400 students. Last week, the enrollment ended for this year. We had 150. Okay, the country had 2 million inhabitants, now has 1.6. So this is one of the reasons. But the other reason is that mostly students don't want to go to technical departments or technical faculties. We have a specialized branch of hydropower, where what I enrolled 30 years ago, and we were 20 students at that year at the bachelor level. The enrollment ended last week, as I said. Now we have 2. Most of these students end up in the European Union countries or Norway, because we had long-standing cooperation with them. And what we did last few years, when we found out this is a problem, we started working, because we tried to work on the students, to popularize, to make something interesting, digitalization, computational fluid dynamics, tell them that it's not really old-fashioned, but it's still there are no results. Then we started working with high schools, specialized high schools in the branch of technical, electrical or mechanical, and together with the companies, but they are mostly electrical-oriented companies, who gave them scholarship at the level of bottom level salary at the company, which is, let's say, 70% of the state average. And the numbers increased incredibly, like twice. And now those students have to be motivated to go to the faculty, to the university level.
Hello, my name is Giga Twauri. I'm from Georgia, representing Grigol Robakidze University. I will tell you a point from my country's from my country, because in my country the sector are very discreditized because large of hydropower projects are suspended because of public protests. If we want to promote this sector, we need to explain hydropower benefits on a national level. On other way, it's impossible. Thank you.
Any more questions or comments from the audience? No?
Okay, I'll just give a short comment. So I work in the industry, and at the college level, we try to give scholarships, and it's too late. When we try to give a scholarship at, let's say, third year or something like that, people already don't want to take that money. They want to have their options free so that they can then later on compete better and negotiate for better salaries. So hydropower is not something that they want to commit to.
Any final remarks from our panelists? Would you like to say a final key statement? So we need to work on communication then, that was clear. We need to work earlier on the education, maybe earlier, but also to be better at explaining what is their future and how they can maybe explore it without being that narrowed, as Helena suggested. So maybe not all universities, but there are many strategies then to keep everyone in this field. I would like to thank you very much for this discussion, for previous discussion, and this one as well. And this closed this session. Thanks. Join me in a round of applause for our panelists. Okay.
Okay.
Is it lunchtime?
It's lunchtime.
Yeah,
Perfect.
let's enjoy lunch.
Thank you, everyone, and bon app. Enjoy.
Have
Oh
a
yeah,
nice
for
day.
the online participants, thanks for joining.
Thank you very much.
And yeah, hope to see you again. And we close now this session here. Thank you for the contribution.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.